Hello ladies and frogs, and welcome back to another video. I'm really sorry for any background noise during this video. My bedroom doesn't have AC right now, and I have my fan on full blast, and I'm really not willing to turn it off to do this voiceover. And also, for some reason, my mic isn't working. I don't know why. I bought it a couple months ago strictly to do voiceovers, and for some reason, ever since I got it, it's been very finicky and weird, which I'm kind of annoyed about because I paid a lot of money for it, but it's fine. Anyways, on to bigger and better things. Today, I figured I would just do like a little mini story time. As y'all know, I've been on social media for a very long time. I started posting on social media from a very early age, and because of that, I have a lot of really funny stories just from being on social media. So I figure I'd just share a couple of those today because I'm kind of running out of fuel for videos to post and voiceovers to do. So anyways, let's get right into it. So when I was around 11 years old, I got my first cell phone, and one of the first apps that I downloaded when I got it was Wattpad because all of my friends had Wattpad and it was all they ever talked about. And I wanted to feel included, so I downloaded it. I mostly just used it to read books, but eventually I got into writing stories. Not to toot my own horn, but one of the books that I wrote ended up doing pretty well on there. I think it had like 30,000 reads. That's really not a flex though, because the book was actually trash. Like I said, I was like 11 when I downloaded this app. I was probably 12 or 13 when I started writing that book, but no one told me that it was absolute booty cheeks, so I continued to write it, and it had 3 whole books in the series. I wrote a whole trilogy when I was like 13 years old. But while writing, I was also an artist, and shortly after joining Wattpad, I discovered that there was a whole artist community on there of people posting their artwork in the form of books. So I started posting my artwork on there. I made a pretty decent group of friends from it, and then eventually I moved on to Instagram. And I have a really bad habit of dedicating myself to one specific social media platform at a time. Like, as a kid, as a teenager, it was very hard for me to divide my attention equally between multiple social media platforms. So just for a little background, I started off on Wattpad, but eventually moved over to Instagram. A couple years after that, I moved over to TikTok, and maybe a year after I joined TikTok, I started blowing up for my My Hero Academia comics. And that's around the time when I started to take my art a little more seriously. I started to develop a schedule for posting on Instagram and TikTok. Eventually, I started up a YouTube as well. And nowadays, as I continue to pursue art as a full-time job, I'm posting almost everywhere. I try to make my content accessible to literally any type of community, so I'm posting on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, DeviantArt, Tumblr, YouTube, almost every app imaginable. But like I said, because I've been posting for so long and I have been posting on so many different platforms, I have a lot of different experiences with a lot of different people. So the first mini story time is going to take place around the time that I was 13 or 14, I want to say. I was still relatively new to Instagram and the artist community as a whole at the time, and I was just trying to make friends. I was trying to promote my artwork, things like that. And it was around the time that I joined Instagram that I found out that you could actually make money off of your artwork by offering up commissions. So I started talking to a few of my artist friends, asking what kind of pricing I should put down for my art. And since I wasn't necessarily new to art, but I was still kind of inexperienced, my commissions were very affordable. I'm talking, I was offering up a full body commission for like $10. But as like a 13, 14-year-old just trying to get out there, that was a pretty good amount, right? So I offer up my commissions. I'm posting them, I'm promoting them, whatever. Well, one day I get a DM, and this is probably one of my first commissions. I had maybe gotten like 2 messages prior to this in like the months that I had had my commissions up. And the pieces she wanted were very simple. It was like 2 different pieces with the same characters in each one, just in different scenarios. And like I said, my art wasn't really great at this point. I couldn't do complex backgrounds. I was not really great at the posing. But my whole thought was that she was following me, she knew what kind of art to expect from me. So eventually I tell her, yeah, I'll do both of these pieces for $30. I send her my PayPal information, and she proceeds to PayPal me $200 for these pieces. And I freak out. I'm offering to send it back to her. I'm telling her that that's way too much for the artwork that I produce. And she's like, no, it's fine. I really love your art. I want to support you. Just go ahead and take the money. Draw me whatever you can. It'll be fine. So now I'm really anxious to get these pieces finished, and I'm really anxious to make them like top quality. Like, I am so stressed out trying to make sure that they are worth the $200 she sent me. Because for a 13, 14-year-old, that's like $1 million. That's like so much money. So to her defense, these commissions did take a minute for me to finish. Right after she had sent me the money and we had discussed the commission, I started going through some things in my personal life. So they did take a little longer. I'd say about 3 to 4 months to get finished. but they ended up getting finished nonetheless. I sent them to her, she seemed to really enjoy them, I emailed them over to her, and I figured that that was that. Until a couple days later, when I got a notification that one of my favorite artists mentioned me in their story. I get really excited, I have no clue what the notification's about, so I go and check it. And it's a screenshot of my account captioned, "This artist is a scammer, do not hate, just draw attention to them." So I have no clue what they're talking about. I continue to read their stories, and they're spinning this entire narrative that I had scammed someone out of a commission. They had paid a lot of money for it, and I never finished it, never sent it to them, nothing like that. I proceeded to block them, blah, 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 blah. So at this point, I'm really confused. I'm a little embarrassed because this is a really big artist that I looked up to and had been following for years at this point. And later on that afternoon, I receive a message from the original commissioner saying that they weren't pleased with the pieces, that they spent so much money and it didn't come out the way they wanted, and that they were going to be charging back my account to get the money for the commission back. So now I'm trying to do damage control, because at this point, it didn't register to me that it was very, very strange of them to be lying about the commission process by telling people that I never completed the commissions. So I'm asking them if I can redo the pieces for them. I'm asking how I can increase the quality of them to make their money worthwhile. I once again offer to send them back the money. They end up doing a chargeback anyways. After this, I changed my PayPal account because, I don't know, I was scared of getting scammed. And over the next couple days, I start to receive a lot of hate comments. I'm getting people commenting, calling me a scammer. There's other big artists that are commenting on my account, making posts about me, telling people that I'm a scammer and that I'm a bad artist and blah, 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 blah. And also, I just have people generally like crapping on my art, telling me that my art isn't worth the money that was spent on it. And I knew that. I knew that at the time, and that is why I begged them not to send me that money, and I begged them to let me send it back, but they didn't want to. And I ended up making a response post where I showed the pieces that I created for this person and explained that I did indeed send them the art, and that only made it worse. People started saying that I probably rushed the pieces just to make it seem like I had finished them, that the pieces looked like they were drawn by a 7-year-old, this, that, and the other thing. And now at this point, there's artists that are starting live streams talking about me. There was this really big artist that I super admired, a different one from the original one that had posted, going live, just showing my account, showing different pieces I had done, and just sitting there insulting my artwork with her followers, saying any bad thing that they could about my work. And I ended up joining the live stream and seeing this, and I was so sad about it because at the time I had worked really hard on my art. I was very confident in the way that it looked, despite the fact that I knew that I was still relatively new. So I send a message to this live stream and I say, "Hey, I really admire your work. I've been following you for a really long time. It's really sad to see you speaking about me like this, but it won't stop me from supporting you because at the end of the day, I think your work is beautiful." And that just added fuel to the fire. Now I've got everybody in this chat just absolutely dogging on me. She's laughing at me, you know, this, that, and the other thing. Eventually, I just block everyone who had to do with this situation and tried to move on. Eventually, it did die down. I had blocked the original commissioner. I had blocked any artists that had started speaking about me. I felt like, in my eyes, I had done everything that I could to prove that I had done what I said I was going to do, and it was just up to social media to kind of call it quits. I ended up not taking commissions for a few years after that because I was just so turned off by the experience. And honestly, the whole situation was very hurtful. Like, I was a 13, 14-year-old beginner artist, and I'm starting to get up there to the age that these artists that were calling me out were at, and I could not imagine at my grown age sitting there dogging on, like, a small artist. But it's been years, it's all over now, so that's that. And that situation did teach me how to take precautions when doing commissions. So maybe in the long run it was more beneficial. And to anyone who's curious, I did manage to go through my old Instagram feed and pull the pieces that I did. Looking back on them, they weren't great. Like I said, I was a 13, 14-year-old artist. I didn't know how to do backgrounds. My anatomy wasn't that great. Overall, it wasn't worth $200, but that's why $200 was not my asking price for it. Anyways, let's get on to the next story. So the next story takes place maybe a year after the first story that I talked about. Like I said, all those hate comments that I received really pushed me to try and become a better artist. So I was improving my artwork very rapidly, and I was getting followed back by a lot of my favorite artists, which was really exciting. And one of the people who ended up following me back was this really cool artist I'd been following since I was like probably 12 or 13. I really liked their art style. Once they followed me back, I started doing a bunch of fan art for them, drawing them artwork all the time because I was just so excited to, like, quote unquote be friends with that artist. And that was the case with me and a lot of other artists that started following me back. I admired them a lot and therefore wanted to kind of pay them back for quote unquote being my friend. Like, I know it sounds weird, but like I said, I was just a kid at the time. I talked to them pretty regularly, I want to say. I responded to a lot of their Instagram stories. I drew them art on their birthday. Just like stereotypical friend things, you know how it is. Well, around this time, I had re-downloaded Wattpad and was going through some of my old art, and I remember seeing this piece right here on screen. As you can tell, it's very heavily inspired by the Powerpuff Girls, and you can also tell that she has like a floating head. So at the time of re-finding this piece, rediscovering this art, I was having trouble with my anatomy still. I still didn't think it was the greatest. I was having trouble placing certain body parts on my artwork. So I decided to start drawing like that again. I wanted to kind of revert to my roots and draw in a way that was easier for me. And obviously I didn't continue to take direct inspiration from the Powerpuff Girls since my art had improved, but I did start drawing bobbleheads. I wasn't drawing the necks, I was just drawing floating heads on top of a body. Now after I started doing that, a couple weeks afterwards, I had realized that that artist had unfollowed me, and I was a little hurt by it, but at the end of the day, people can do whatever they want. You know what I mean? I kind of got over it pretty quickly. It's worth mentioning that that artist also drew bobbleheads sometimes. I don't necessarily think it was like a token to their art style, but I definitely remember seeing some posts where they drew floating bobbleheads. But whatever, I just figured they didn't like my art anymore. I was kind of too embarrassed to message them and ask why, so I just got over it. Well, like a week or two later, I end up receiving a message from a mutual friend of ours, and they're sending me screenshots of this artist's backup account, where they're posting a bunch of my artwork saying that I was copying them and that I was an unoriginal artist and that I needed to develop my own style instead of stealing from others and blah 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 blah. So not only am I embarrassed that people are talking about me, but I'm also kind of annoyed because our art styles looked nothing alike. Literally the only one similarity would be that I drew floating heads like they did. And I managed to find one of the screenshots, so I was annoyed. Whatever. This sparked a whole new controversy. I ended up taking the screenshot and making a post, calling them out for not only posting my artwork without my permission, but then sitting here and accusing me of copying them and telling me that I need to get my own style and yada yada yada. I had initially tried DMing them personally, asking them to remove the post because I just thought it made me look bad, and they didn't want to respond. So then I made that public post, and after that, they started to get a couple comments on their account about it, so then they made a post basically saying that they were taken out of context and that they took them down and blah, 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 blah. I ended up unfollowing them after this, but it didn't really matter because a couple weeks afterwards, they ended up just deleting their account and kind of falling off the face of the earth. And I even ended up receiving a private message from a different one of our mutual friends who was apparently very, very close to them at the time, basically apologizing on their behalf and saying that they had known each other for a really long time and they were in a really unhealthy mental state at that time. And that ended up bringing me and that other artist a little closer together. We started talking a little more often. They're actually pretty big now. But the whole reason that I had remembered this entire situation taking place is because I recently found out that this artist came back to social media and they're now on Twitter as like a not safe for work artist. And when I saw them posting again, I wasn't entirely sure if it was them, so I had messaged that previous mutual asking, hey, are they back online? Like, have you noticed this? They basically responded saying that the artist had grown a lot as a person and they're trying to move past things that they had done in the past, yada yada yada, and then promptly unfollowed me because I guess bringing up that drama was kind of unnecessary. But I guess they're back online now, and if they are in a better mental spot, I am genuinely happy for them and I hope that they continue to stay there. But I just found that situation kind of funny because once again, at my grown age, I could not imagine being their age and sitting there hating on a teenage artist for just having an art style that was not even remotely similar to theirs. I just think it's kind of funny, but I do low-key follow them on Twitter because I do still think their artwork is really nice, and I'm not going to hold something that they did 10 years ago against them. But yeah, all in all, that situation I think was just kind of funny overall. Anyways, I have one last really short story. This one was a very short-lived controversy that was even funnier because it actually had something to do with someone I knew in real life. Basically, back when I lived in my hometown, I worked at Subway during high school and ended up meeting this coworker. And him and I became friends pretty fast because we were into a lot of the same things. And his girlfriend also worked at Subway, but she did not like me at all. Despite not liking me, they both decided to follow me on social media. And right around the time that I started blowing up on TikTok for my My Hero Academia comics, I was in a really unstable living situation. My roommate had moved out basically with no notice, and I was kind of stuck footing the rent by myself. So I opened up emergency commissions to try and come up with the funds to continue to pay my rent until I could find a better paying job. And I guess it was around this time that she had decided to try and use my popularity for clout ? And basically started spam commenting under all of my posts, calling me a liar and saying that I was only doing it for money and trying to make up lies about me and this, that, and the other thing. And once she started to get a bunch of backlash for it, she ended up making like a really long video basically making a bunch of stuff up about me from when we had worked together, just trying to paint me out to be this really toxic, unhealthy, unreliable person. I don't know. It actually had nothing to do with my artwork, and it was more so just her trying to call me out for being a quote-unquote bad person and trying to convince people not to send me money, and it ended up backfiring really hard, and I'm pretty sure her account got deleted. But her boyfriend, my old friend, ended up messaging me apologizing on her behalf, and basically just saying that they had broken up and she was very unhealthy and toxic and blah, 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 blah. So I don't really know how that whole situation turned out because I just ended up blocking her to avoid the situation. But I don't know, that was just my first experience with someone clout chasing. So I don't really know. Anyways, those are just a few short stories of some random dramas that I've been a part of in the past. I have a couple more, so if you guys are interested, just go ahead and let me know in the comments. Honestly, story times like these are really fun for me to do. Before I let you guys go, I did want to let you guys know that I just started up a Patreon. This is just another way for you guys to support me if you want to. I'll go ahead and go through all of the tiers just so you know what you guys would be getting yourselves into, and I'll go ahead and link it down below in the description. And obviously, yes, they are all frog themed. So the first tier is going to be the tadpole tier. This one is $5 a month. You guys are going to get early access to videos 3 days before they're released. If I ever have sales on my commissions, you guys will be the first to know. Same thing with my adoptables. You're going to be able to get works in progress and the ability to vote on polls to decide what kind of videos I'm going to make. The next one is going to be the froglet tier, and that one has obviously all the access that you get from the first tier, as well as not safe for work works in progress if that's something you guys want to see, and a sketch request of any character you'd like, whether it's an OC or a character from media, whatever you guys want. And this membership is going to be $10 a month. The next one is going to be the Tree Frog tier, which is $20 a month. It has access to all of the benefits that you receive from previous tiers, as well as finished not safe for work art, flat color half body of any character request you'd like, and even earlier access to adoptables and commission sales, meaning that this tier will have 24-hour early access to any adoptables and commissions that I have. Afterwards, they'll be posted to the tadpole tier for another 24 hours, and then they will be posted to my social media. And finally, the Big Frog tier is $50 a month. This has all of the previous benefits from all of the previous tiers, as well as a full body, fully rendered request of your choice. This includes not safe for work if that's what you'd like. And on top of all that, you personally get to choose a video that I make for my social media. This means if you have a video scenario in mind, if there's an animation you'd like me to do, anything, I will make it and then I will post it to my social media so you have your personal request for content that I produce. As well as all of these benefits that I have listed above, I will also be holding a weekly raffle on my Patreon where anybody has the chance to win free art regardless of what tier you're on, and everybody who's supporting me no matter what tier will be named off at the end of all of my videos, just to show that I appreciate all of your support. So like I said, if you guys want to go ahead and try and support me, you can go ahead and click the link in my description and that'll bring you straight to my Patreon. With all of that being said, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye!